Now, we've done a little targeting, our little analysis, and we've looked for trends that we want to target. That's where we step back a little and say, okay, based on the analysis we've done, how can we target our campaigns specifically to these different areas? And Google offers a lot of targeting options. We're going to look at campaign level targeting options right now, and then we're going to go into something called extensions after that. And as we go through this, there is information I'm going to be giving you that's not necessarily written down, little hints that can help you out. So the biggest thing with targeting is finding out where your customer is, and looking at your dimension reports will help with that, but also just knowing your customer before you start spending money is going to be really helpful. So the big ones we look at are geo-targeting, platform targeting, and then the display network versus search network targeting. You can also target by language, by demographics, psychographics, lots of different ways to target. But these are kind of the big ones. So our network targeting, we've spoke about already, but again, you can target the search network with display select, the search network only, or the display network. And remember, as you're looking at this, your search network is going to be your most effective place to put your ads. It's also the most expensive. But the great thing about the Google Search Network is you're getting your ads in front of people already engaged in the process. And if you're keeping it just on the Google sites and not the Google partner sites, you're getting all of Google's massive brain power to make sure those ads are somewhat relevant to your target user. The display network is more interruption marketing. You have greater reach, but you're trying to get somebody's attention from something else. So you need to write a different ad. You need to think, how can I really grab their attention? What's going to be the key to turn them into a click? Whereas you can have a little more information on your search ads. The display ads need to be much more, here's your offer. It's big, it's broad, it's in your face. You can educate a little more with the search ads, display ads, much more in your face. But the flip side is their display ads, you have that whole visual component you don't necessarily get with the search ad. When you go into pick your network type, there are all kinds of sub-features, so keep that in mind. The search network, there are so many sub-features that just generally Google will make a suggestion based on what you've done to date, and they'll say standard, not recommended, or all features. I go with all features, and then I can go back and back anything off. As you walk through the process of setting up your campaign, they'll ask you questions, and you can kind of see the features you want and what you don't want. Okay, so let's take a second and look at some targeting for display networks. Your basic is all features and options. You can promote them specifically in mobile apps. We spoke about that. You can promote them specifically in remarketing. You can create engagement ads. Avoid the mobile apps unless you really are sure your customers are engaged with the mobile app. And that is a very small subset. Now, once they're engaged with the mobile app, they're a pretty good captive audience. You can get some nice performance, but generally, it's not where I would go out of the gate. Remarketing ads, we have a whole section on that towards the end of this. I'm a big believer in remarketing when you control the number of impressions you put in front of your customer. I'm also a big believer in remarketing and get the heebie-jeebie factor pretty high up. I went to a conference in Las Vegas. I looked at the Treasure Island to book a hotel. 5 years later, I'm still getting followed around by an ad for Treasure Island Casino and Hotel in Las Vegas. And I stayed one night there. And they're following me around because they had no limits on the remarketing campaign. And I'm up here in front of God and everybody complaining about Treasure Island and how they're kind of violating my privacy here by chasing me around with an ad. Okay, geo-targeting. You can do geo-targeting for both display and search ads. There are lots of different ways you can set up your geo-targeting. The easiest is by kind of standard regions. There's something called a Nielsen DMA, which stands for, I believe, Defined Metropolitan Area, and it says the Bay Area. So it's Oakland, San Francisco, San Jose. There's the Denver DMA. There's the Los Angeles DMA, which is Orange County, LA, and a little bit towards Palm Springs. So these DMA regions are kind of big Uber marketing regions. You can also set it up by state, by individual city, by town, by zip code, by distance from a set point. You can draw a line in Google Maps. You can set it up by latitude and longitude. You can set it up by voting districts. Lots of different ways. Yeah.
So, you know, nowadays that's usually based, is that based off of the IP origin of the computer they're looking at, or is it based off of their Google like profile? Like how are you targeting these?
So the question is, how does Google figure out where the person is when they want to serve the ad to them? And there are a couple different ways Google looks at it. First and foremost, and this is something fairly new in the last 2 years, as the mobile device usage has grown, mobile devices give a very finely refined point in space. So if I do a search on my phone here, Google's going to know that I did it right around the intersection of Broadway and 101 here. Mobile phones are incredibly useful in that regard. And one thing to keep in mind, as of February of this year, there are more searches being done on mobile phones than there are on tablets and desktops combined. So mobile phones are becoming the default, and your desktops and your tablets are becoming the secondary. So as you're writing ads, you need to think, is there an opportunity to target my ad for a mobile user? And if so, how do I need to rewrite that ad? We're going to circle around back to that in a second, but that kind of is a bit of an answer to how does Google know. Now, if you're not on a mobile phone, how does Google know? They look at a couple things. They look at your IP address and where the nearest network node is located, and then they look at your Google profile. And then they also look at the language you put into the search. So if I'm searching for San Jose dentist office, I could be in Georgia, and I look for San Jose, California dentist office. Google is going to return me ads about San Jose, California dentist. But if I look for dentist office and I'm in Georgia, Google's going to return ads for Stone Mountain dentist office in Georgia. They're going to look at where my IP address is located. It used to be that the IP address wasn't a really perfect lens to look through, especially when there were the bigger ISPs like AOL, where you'd sit there and you'd look and say, gosh, it looks like the entire world is located out of Reston, Virginia, which is where AOL's headquarters are. And all their computers had an address listed as Reston, Virginia, even if they were in San Jose or points otherwise. Nowadays, Google and Bing and Yahoo have gotten much better at not just looking where the computer is located, but also the path that the request traveled throughout to get to it. So an IP request is a little packet of information, and it bounces from computer to computer to computer. Now Google's very good at looking at that path, and they're much better at saying, okay, yeah, his server is located in Emeryville, but based on the way he bounced around, it looks like he's really actually in Burlingame. So that's how Google defines this. Now, again, the language you search on is going to also kind of trump the actual location, but that's how Google hits the location targeting. And it's much more effective on a phone. Now, as you're doing location targeting, the easiest way is type in a location and Google starts suggesting different areas within that location. In addition to the local ones we were talking about, like city, state, town, you can also do global regions. Asia Pacific, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, EU, Commonwealth countries, lots of former Soviet republic, lots of different buckets are there for you. As you're thinking geography, think, where are my people really? Do I want to target this ad to the entire United States, or do I want to narrow it down and maybe just do the Southeast? Historically, where have my customers come from? And one of our clients does product design, and they're looking at maybe shutting off campaigns in the Dakotas and Oklahoma and whatnot. And actually, it doesn't make a lot of sense. They're convinced they've never had a customer from Oklahoma. But we were able to show them just like, yeah, you never had one from who converted from Oklahoma, but you have some business addresses from Oklahoma. So geographic targeting is good, but you need to really think it through. Target the right size section. So Phoenix metropolitan area versus the smaller city of Sunrise, Arizona. This is for a local motorcycle shop. Sunrise, the Sunrise store really serviced about a 15 square mile area. The Phoenix, Arizona area, much bigger than the 15 square miles, and people weren't going to travel much more than that to get to this motorcycle shop. And then you can see different ways of using language to do some of this geographic targeting. So we mentioned all of these. Now, one thing, just because Google says Phoenix, Arizona, doesn't mean Google gets it all the time. This example has since been fixed, but it's a great example, so I'm keeping it. I typed in Phoenix, Arizona, and look what happened. It took it all the way from the north suburbs of Tucson to the Nevada-Utah border and to the Four Corners area. I mean, this has nothing to do with Flagstaff. This is desert, Flagstaff is high mountains. I mean, very different areas, but yet Google said, yep, that's all Phoenix. Now, since I pulled this screenshot, they've improved this, but it's not the only time this has ever happened. And this is near enough to us out here in the California area where it kind of makes sense. So, geographic targeting. Like I said, you can target by a lot of different things. Just really say, where are my people located? And you can exclude areas as well. If you can't sell a product outside of Contra Costa County because say you're a government agency and you can only serve people in Contra Costa County, you want to have exclusions for people in Alameda and San Francisco and San Mateo and Santa Clara counties. So you exclude them and they're not seeing your ad unless somebody types in Contra Costa government services. So you can do exclusions as well as inclusions with this geographic targeting. Now, time targeting. I love time targeting. Time targeting is an easy way to get performance. There are very few products and services where people are looking at them 24/7 at the same pace, whether it's midnight or 3 a.m. or 2:30 in the afternoon. And so I am a big believer in day part and week part targeting. Just FYI, I grabbed this screen grab from a beginning class in SEO. Google always will tell you messages across the top of your interface there. That's what that is. So I went and I did some segmentation of my campaign to try to understand how people were interacting with my customer's website here. And I took a look at hours of the day. So Wednesday, or actually it was days of the week. So Wednesday through Wednesday. And it kind of made sense that this client was B2B. They had no traffic on Saturday, but look at this spike on Sunday. You would think, why would I have traffic on a Sunday for a B2B client? We actually did some research and we figured out a lot of the buying managers purchase stuff on Sunday. They started doing research, and I asked the client, and that didn't make any sense to him initially, but then we actually talked to a couple of customers and realized that the clicks we got from Sunday and the conversions we got from those clicks were about a 3% higher dollar per conversion amount than during the middle of the week. So they had 3% more in value to the company, which doesn't sound like a lot, but you do a lot of these little improvements and all of a sudden you're rocking and rolling. You can also see pages per visit, click-through rate. You can really break this down by lots of different ways. Okay, this is actually from Google Analytics versus AdWords, and Analytics is a really good way to analyze your data. This is looking at a day-by-day traffic of visits to the conversion page, the thank you page after conversion. And it's for a family law attorney. And this is for the month of December through the middle of January. And the attorney had come in and said, you know, this is my biggest time of year. I get about 30% of my clients within this December to January 15th time period, but I don't really know when and why. And so we took a look at the data, and a couple of things you notice. Visits kind of petered off right around Christmas, but then the day after Christmas, they spiked. Okay, not my favorite service I've ever sold, but it's a really good illustration. Divorce attorneys. People deal with the family at Christmas, and then the day after they're frustrated and they're looking for a change. And it's not a happy example, but it's a really good illustration here. And then you saw the same thing. The 2 days after New Year's, a huge spike, a massive spike. And then you saw it again. And those days actually translated to Mondays, or the first business day after the holiday. Again, looking at how people behave and when their pain points are, you want to get your ads up in front of them. Now this is a kind of bleak and sad example, but it really shows effectively what we're talking about. Same thing with day part targeting. So this is for Sundays, or actually it's for Monday morning, and we looked at about 2.5 months worth of data here, and you can see midnight you had some, it kind of petered off, and then right around here at 9 a.m. when people were arriving at the office, you saw a lot of people looking for divorce attorneys. And it kind of petered off a little, and on Saturday night it was different. You had a big spike in the middle of the night, and then it petered off into the morning. But these spikes were consistent year over year week over week. And so we don't necessarily want to run ads here. It's not worth our time. And it can hurt our click-through rate because the ads may be running and appearing, but nobody's clicking on them. We want to run ads here because we have motivated people. We want to run ads here. We want to run ads on the spike, get them in front of people. So you can set up targeting and set up scheduling with a couple different constraints. You can just say, I want my ads to run or not run. And you can set up multiple time periods during a day. So you can say 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, I want my ads to run. And I don't want them to run from 5 to 5 overnight. And I don't want them to run on the weekend, the yes or no. Or you can split that 8 to 5 into little smaller groups. And you can say, in the time from 10:30 to 1:30, I actually want to increase my bid by 20%. And then after 1:30, I want to drop my bid by 10%. And you can really get some finely tuned time segments here and really focus down on getting your ads where they're getting effective bidding in front of people at the right time that historically demonstrates when they want to convert. Google has made this much easier than it used to be. It was a whole lot more of a pain in the butt to set up. Now it's pretty easy. You go into your setting tabs, you look at schedule, and you can create multiple schedules. And this is how we segmented it. And you can see Monday, 5 a.m. to 7 p.m., we had decent clicks, decent click-through rate, but Tuesday, Wednesday, not so much on the click-through rate. Now this is a pretty, business hours, that can kind of make sense. Another one of our clients is looking to get potential franchise purchasers to come and buy a cleaning franchise. And when we looked at the data, we found that it's not even worth the time of day to run the ads at all in the morning. But if you run them from 2 to 6 on the weekdays, you get good performance. And then if you run them from 2 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the morning, you get good performance. But that time from 6 until 2 o'clock in the morning, we ran pretty low. It kind of worked with these people who were already employed as janitors, who maybe didn't have their own business, and they were going to work, and they were going to work after the rest of us were going home. So we decided to run the ads from 2 to 6 and from 2 in the morning until 4 in the morning, and pretty much shut them down the rest of the time. And we also decided to run the ads much more mobile phone heavy as opposed to desktop and laptop. So we increased the bid on mobile phone ads. We wrote the ads so they worked better on a mobile phone, and we sent them to mobile phone specific landing pages that were designed to be very easy to convert on with a mobile phone, which is different from our laptops and desktops. And so we really focused down our ad campaign, and we took the money we were spending and made it work as hard as it can by day part targeting and by device targeting. Here's the way you set it up, and you can see for this particular client, we had a period from 12 to 5, 5 to 7, 7 to 12. 3 different periods every day. Now, one thing with the time targeting, keep in mind it's based on the time zone that the account is set up in. So for this particular campaign, our client was in New Jersey, but the time zone was set up in Chicago. And don't ask me why it was set up that way. I came in and inherited the account. So you would actually move, so the New Jersey ads would actually not be starting at 12, they'd be starting at 1. Just keep that in mind. Your time-based ads are always going to be set up on the time zone of the location of the account. And if you're running ads in another time zone, you need to consciously make a decision to adjust your settings accordingly. Okay. We talked about targeting different types of screens. Now this is for an ad in a campaign that was mobile friendly. We wrote the ad so it was a little shorter and it had a click to call feature versus a click to go to the web page feature. Now we also ran it on computers as well and tablets, but it was really designed for mobile phones. So you can see decent click-through percent overall. Cost per click was all right. Conversion rate was all right. But when you look at it by device, look at the click-through rate by device. It's 2.8 for computers, 2.75 for tablets, but it's 6.33 for phones. And it's because we wrote the ad to take advantage of phone features. A little shorter, a little more concise, and easy to convert with a thumb. Click to call in this case. What you can't see here is the average revenue per conversion was lower on this, but the ROI still remained good because we were getting a better conversion rate and it was costing us less on just a cost per click basis. So the average revenue on this was about $1,200 per lead, where with the standard ads on a desktop, it's about $3,000 per lead. But we offset that difference by having better performing ads that cost less and more of them. So again, looking at your data on a regular continuous basis is going to allow you to really make your campaigns hum, and that's what this whole discussion of targeting is about.